Great, so we are recording now.
Push
Good.
that way actually so I don't get distracted by it. Turn off my notifications on my watch as well. One of those many things I get distracted by. So
It's amazing how you get distracted, yes.
yeah, this world.
Right.
That's a technology thing.
It's definitely right.
Definitely.
So Xavier, welcome to the show today.
Thank you very
Thanks
much,
for traveling
Samuel.
from Bedford all the way to here, right? How was traffic down here?
It was all right. As soon
Yeah.
as I got onto the A34, fantastic. So
Right,
very
okay.
good.
So Xavier, you're the CEO and co-founder of Zap Hub.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this company.
Cool. So basically, ZapHub is a digital marketing service for small businesses. We offer our marketing in a very simple, easy to understand packages where small businesses can know each month exactly what they're going to get. We're doing this through an optimized process that we've delivered, as well as the technology, which allows us to automate elements of the process, which means that we can provide great marketing at a great price for small businesses on a consistent basis.
Okay, and your target market is for small businesses?
Yeah, small businesses, we're very sort of industry agnostic. We're working with people, who run hairdressing salons,
Okay,
who run
right.
high-tech technology businesses, IoT companies, things like that. We're working with a really broad range of companies, software businesses, etc. So we don't really have a target market other than that we sort of prefer to work with small businesses, as that's where we can add a really, really large amount of value.
Right, okay. So Xavier, I've known you for a few years now.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to know a bit more about you. So I know you were here studying between maybe 2013, 2016,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yeah,
So you're a student here at the university?
I was at Southampton. I read philosophy and economics.
Right, okay.
More philosophy than economics, believe me.
Right.
And it was a really great time. So it's actually, when I got to the university, when I first came, I actually was thinking about, I wanted a career in banking or accounting, very typical for an economics undergraduate.
So that was when you were studying?
That was as I was coming into studying,
Right,
as
okay.
I was getting here
Right.
within my first year, and that's what was really interesting. I thought that's where I wanted to go. I got the internships, I started these things, got offers and things like that. But partway through, I think my first year, I found the Entrepreneurship Society here, Fish on Toast, and it sort of changed. I mean, without any melodrama, it changed my life. It was a real awakening for me when I realised that actually, I want to run a company. I found that, the skill set involved, the opportunity, the sort of the risk involved as well was really, really enticing for me. And that Entrepreneurship Society, the speakers and everything around it is what kind of drew me towards starting my own company, drew me towards getting involved with technology, and actually the things I'm doing right now wouldn't exist if I didn't sort of get involved with that society.
Okay.
So that was a really
So
exciting
kind of
part.
halfway through your university studies, you decided you're going to be a businessman, entrepreneur.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
So
that first branding is still running?
It is. So that was the Fish on Toast Society. So that's still running. I didn't found that. It was founded ages ago in 2002.
Okay, right.
But I ended up running it. I was the president for my second and third years. And through that, we made it into a really great society. We really achieved something great. We had an amazing team that we'd managed to grow and build. And, that was really my first instance. I mean, I'd already started companies by this point and we were already running them alongside it. But Fish on Toast was my first sort of opportunity to really build and grow and manage a team, as well as, really achieve some successes and allow us to hit the goals we wanted to get. That was the year that I won a national award for entrepreneurship because of the work with the society, as well as the two companies that I'd built in that time.
Okay, right.
It was, we won Society of the Year. We ran a massive conference, which is the first sort of big student conference for entrepreneurship that was ran at Southampton. It was called the UTech conference. It was a technology and entrepreneurship conference, really successful. We also had a social enterprise conference that year. We ran a student apprentice competition with the boardrooms actually taking place in this room.
God, so much going on that time, wasn't it?
So much, I didn't really do much of my studying.
Right,
I was really
okay.
focused on creating a great organisation. I was also running a company called, co-founder of a company called The Worldly, which was a magazine, digital online, before we sold that, and we got some cool successes there. We interviewed Sir Richard Branson, the CEO of Unilever, the chairman of Goldman Sachs, some really exciting sort of media pieces we did, as well as getting, I think, over 100, maybe 150 students to actually write articles for it.
Wow.
So some really
That's a
exciting
lot going
things.
on here.
Yes, as I also was running a technology business at the time, which was called Plato Solutions. I then
Right.
started another company called Plato
Yeah.
about a year later, where we'd built a technology innovation solution for large companies. Unfortunately, there wasn't really a market demand
Yeah,
for it,
yeah, yeah.
but we did manage to get it trialed in a couple of banks at the
Okay.
time, which was really exciting.
I mean, it's like that business about try and error.
Yeah,
You got to try a few
yeah.
things, and then you see how the market respond to that, and what's the impact, or how the people are reacting to the product, right? Then you adjust and readjust.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
you are a millennial, right?
Yeah,
you're
so
just a millennial.
I'm within the
Within
cusp
that-
of millennials, but I feel personally that I probably fit within the closer to the millennials than Gen Z, even though I'm.
So
you
you
know,
are
close to
between
the
these two
boundary.
generations.
Well, I mean, I think I'm in between the two really,
Right.
because I'm right at the tail end of millennials and right at the beginning of Gen Z.
Yeah.
I think the cutoff point is 96. I was born in 94. So
Okay. So there's been a lot of talks about the millennials.
Yeah.
As you probably know, we have a talk later today about millennials.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that generation.
So for me, that generation was very different, I think, from Gen Z, in that it's the generation where people really started to think, okay, now my work needs to have a purpose. That started to really happen. It's where people really wanted the flexibility and ability to choose what they were working on, which again probably links into the purpose element. But it's also a generation where autonomy was incredibly important, I think, and that's something that's really appealing to me. You know, choosing what we work on, how we work on things, adapting it. It's why that generation, I think, is really innovative, and you see a lot of the tech businesses that were founded by millennials. I think that's part of it, because they wanted to adapt and change and have the autonomy to sort of choose what they're building, which ends up solving really great problems.
So would you say that the next generation, the Gen Z,
Yeah.
how different are they from millennials?
I think there's a really key difference here, and this is why I mentioned the autonomy thing. I think that's a key difference.
Yeah.
Is that purpose, I think, is even more important. Purpose for millennials is important. I think it's important for Gen X as well. But I think for millennials, it's very important. But Gen Z, it's the most important thing, I think. You know, I think that's why people come into work. They're looking at all the options they have, and they're looking at, if there's no purpose, they're not happy. You know, there's a lot of issues around mental health and things, especially with that generation. We see it in the people we work with us, and we see it with the sort of friendship groups that we have, you know, in that younger generation, even people just coming out of school. It's a challenge around it, and if people aren't doing something they really believe in, they really don't enjoy it.
So what you're saying to me is just you know, my generation, we kind of grew up with the baby boomers,
Yeah.
right? We follow their instructions, we follow their direction, etc. At the time, it was more about profit and loss, profit driven.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore.
No, I don't think so.
As a Gen Z or as a millennial, if you're just about profit and loss
Yeah.
in your business, most likely you're not going to get them.
No, I think that's I think that's it. I think that really gets it. I don't think, you know what? I don't even think compensation, individual compensation, really drives Gen Z. I don't see it.
With those perks,
With
it doesn't work.
I think there's some things around perks,
Right.
but it's usually more, this thing has to add value to me, has to be fun, and more importantly, the perk is, if something like, can this add value to someone else? Is there a purpose? Is there a real sort of? It's almost that selfless sort of action. If there's something like that, people love it. You know, it's one of those things that we're really seeing. The other real switch, I think, is potentially happening with Gen Z, is actually a move away from this need for autonomy. You know, I think that Gen Z, at least from our interactions with it, people like to be sort of told what to do. They're like, not told what to do, but it's more, they want to have structure with their work. They don't want to have to choose it. Maybe they don't want all the responsibility that goes with it.
Yes.
Remote working as
Right.
well. I think that actually, you know, there needs to be the flexibility around that. But I think as long as they want to know what they're going to do. And I think that's a bit of a difference. You know, with me personally, I could, you know, wake up tomorrow and have no idea what I'm going to do and things like that, and that doesn't worry me. But I think with the Gen Z people that we work with and my friends as well, I think that it's actually a case that, you know what, I want to know what I'm going to do. I want that sort of certainty. I want that certainty, and then I want that to link back into this greater purpose, this, you know, big thing that we're all working towards. I think that's the difference.
So we see nowadays a lot of companies that were founded many years ago, 20 plus years by the baby boomers. There's still a big focus and drive on profit.
Yeah.
You know, quarterly target, you know, yearly targets. that's not something that you think the next generation will be looking at. Because, for example, my daughter, she's 13, Gen Z. Also, when I speak with her, she's very driven with the fact that she wants to see a gender equality.
Exactly.
Between male and female, the pay gap. And she's driven by that. We go to the movies, she will Google every single actresses to find out how much they're earning.
Yeah.
And say to Daddy, look at that. So, meaning, if she were to take over my company tomorrow, more than likely she'll be looking at what's the purpose.
Yeah.
And hence why, because I'm a Gen Xers, and between the boomers and the millennials, I'm kind of also in between as well, because I am not. I have a company who's there to make a profit, but at the same time understand that by making a profit, you can have a greater impact. So, for example, what do we do? Every time someone buys our program, we sponsor a child in Swaziland.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
They have no school over there. So we're trying to sponsor that. I'm working with a program right now called Afritech, where they're trying to use VR for education in Africa.
Amazing.
So that means those kids that have never seen a city, and they probably will never see a city in their life because they're so far away, remotely, up in the mountain. It takes them 4 hours to get to a place. With VR, they can see the world now. So that kind of thing. But
That's
going
amazing.
back to you, you were part of a program, the Mayor of London, Business Growth.
Yeah,
that sounds very interesting.
London and Partners program. Yeah, it was really good. It was with a company I was running at the time called Plato Intelligence, which was a artificial intelligence tool for use within large HR organisations, optimising screening processes and predicting success of candidates. We got selected for this program when we applied. And it was a really exciting accelerator-esque type program, type opportunity, where we'd go in and we'd, be taught by these really amazing experts within their sort of fields, venture capitalists and things like that, about how we can pitch, how we can, get better access to funding, how we can build our networks around that. And it was a really exciting program for that. One of the best things that we got the opportunity for in that, and it links back to actually something we've been talking about with Purpose, was that we got the opportunity to meet and work a little bit alongside one of the founders of Teach First, which I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
It's a fantastic program. I think they're actually the biggest graduate employers in the UK, and it allows graduates to go and be teachers when they haven't got teaching degrees in schools within inner cities, schools that aren't doing amazingly well. And to get that sort of good talent into those schools gives the opportunity to the graduates to really gain some amazing skill sets that you just aren't going to get anywhere else. And then go into their careers later. Often they'll go into, PwCs and these other firms like that. Some of them will stay in teaching. A friend of mine who went through this has now gone full-time into teaching and absolutely loves it. And we got the opportunity to meet him and learn about their recruitment process. As I mentioned, we were doing a machine learning tool for HR and recruitment, and we get to meet the biggest graduate employer in the United Kingdom. I think they employ 2,500 graduates, something incredibly large like that. Amazing learning opportunity, and we wouldn't have got that if we didn't go through the sort of London Partners, as you say, Mayor of London program.
So going back to the generations here. And I've spoken to many millennials and Gen Z about that. How about social media? What is the thing about social media? Well, do you guys like it or you hate it?
We're a social media company. So, if I said I didn't like it, it would be weird. I actually love it personally. I use it all the time. I use it for work, obviously. I understand it and sort of really can get behind how it works. And, as a company, we need to do that, and we see this. Now, what do we think about social media as a thing? Now, personally, using social media at work was always a weird concept for me. And I think that's something that in aging businesses and older traditional companies, is probably seen as frowned upon. You always hear, these stories where you're getting told off for using Facebook at work. At no point will we ever tell our team, get off Facebook, because to be honest,
do you guys use Facebook?
We use it for clients, we use it ourselves, we use it, for everything, and we understand the ads and all of this. But even if our team are just using it for their own personal use, they're learning, because they're learning how these things work. I know more about social media from my own personal use of it than I have reading about it and things like that. So there's one side. There's the other side to it, and this is where I think there is becoming a problem, is that it can cause serious mental health issues. And I know this from some of my friends who really, I think they may have had predispositions to depression and things like that. But social media is what really drives people into it, because you see all these positive things about your friends, that fear of missing out, instant, all of this, and it's damaging.
There's the remote working and the crossover of personal life and professional life is kind of a
I can see it being damaging, but I can also see it being amazing. So, and you know, for example, there's a friend of mine, he's a guy called Aji. He runs a company called MIA, Made in Africa. They have a load of products, clothing brand with clothing made in Africa. They have social enterprise and things like that. Similar things with the schools. I think they're helping education stuff. Really great stuff that Aji's doing. And his personal brand is linked, and his company's brand is all linked to his personal brand, which is all for his amazing social media presence. We were doing a test this morning with this LinkedIn tool, and he was, I'm in the top 1% for my industry. I was only in the top 3 or 4% or something like that. So I was like, I'm going to catch you up. But you know, he's linked his brand to this, and it's a really amazing example of how to do it right. And you know, there is a thing that is that real traction? Are people really engaging? And I honestly think they are. I think, you know, you do social media right, you've got an amazing tool, you've got an amazing way to get your story, to get your message, to get your brand, to get your name out there, and to build your company. And or even if you're within a corporate world, you know, you can build your personal brand within that. And there's a person I know called who works at PwC, is the director of AI. He got that role, and he's accelerated in his company because of his amazing use of LinkedIn, and he's helped build PwC into one of the top AI sort of consulting businesses. I'm sure because of their amazing team as well, and I've met some of them, but also because Andy is able to really get that name out, get that story out, and tell that message and talk about the important issues. So social media has a lot of positives.
Is it fine for your generation to have, while you are browsing on your social media, to be hit with sponsorship or with adverts for a listing or for an advert from a company from left, right, and is that normal to see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that, done responsibly, there is no problem with advertisement, you know, and there never has been if it's done responsibly. However, if they're selling, you know, I don't know, medicines and things like that are really damaging, or, you know, even some of these adverts that you see where they're trying to sell, and these are things I hate, actually, something I really hate, and I hate about social media, and I hate about marketing, and I hate about the industry, is people who try and sell this idea that tomorrow you're going to be a millionaire if you buy this course, or if you do this process, or basically what would have been, you know, you'd have seen these things with all the sort of strippers and stuff in the back of magazines back in the day, get rich quick schemes. Now they're given this professional sort of air of efficacy, and people look at them and go, oh, I'm going to get rich quick. And I've got friends who have actually got involved with these cults, essentially cults or scams and things like that. You know, I'm going to pay £700, and in 6 months I'm going to be worth $1 million.
I'm sure you've learned very quickly that in business it's not that easy, isn't it?
No.
It takes time, isn't it? It takes momentum.
I've got a perfect example of this. That happened, and someone called our number, our office line, and it came through to me, and I was having a chat, and he said, look, what I want you to do is I want you to tell me how I can get how I can market a product that's going to make me $1 million in a couple of months with no work. And I just sort of said, look, that doesn't exist. You know, it won't exist, it can't exist.
So moving on the AI, I know you're very much into AI, right? And everything you've done, so all your businesses are AI driven. A friend of mine just launched his first AI robot in Oxford.
Cool.
So it's an artist.
Nice.
She's called Ida, and she can draw you.
Amazing.
The pictures are now at the Oxford University as well.
Amazing.
So I know he did mention that he's not there to replace human artists, but more of a different aspect.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're going to getting more and more into AI-driven technology. And when I look into the future of work, for example, currently the two highest jobs in the world are Formula One driver and a heart surgeon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And guess what? These two roles can be replaced by AI.
Yeah, definitely.
AI can drive the car.
Well, one thing an AI cannot do, on the car thing, I'm sure about that. I mean, I don't know it that well, I don't know that. Heart surgeon side of kind of things, You know, and I've got a very good friend who's a heart surgeon, really senior heart surgeon as well. And I had this conversation with him recently, and the same thing is, you know what, a robot can do that, can go in there, can, you know, cut the arteries, blend them together, whatever it is, however heart surgery works, they can do that. But and you know what, they can also do diagnostics, and in fact, AI is going to be way better at a human at diagnostics. It's going to be about the same on the robotics side of things, at least to start with, but it's going to be way better at diagnostics and all that, because it can understand data and predict things. But the one thing that it will never be able to do, and I say never because I really don't see it happening, is that it won't be able to have a conversation with a patient who's dying or could die and needs to be reassured and needs to understand what's going on. And you're going to need experts. You're going to need these amazing people.
That's very true.
That just can't be done.
So is it right to say that it seems to me that you mentioned PwC earlier, even an auditor from PwC can be replaced at some point. But it looks like the more complex things can be replaced by AI. A plumber, a nanny, an electrician cannot be replaced.
Well, all of these things, like, again, you know, an auditor from PwC, they can be replaced up to a point, but they're not going to be able to talk through the company or talk through solutions, things like that. So there's things like that can't be replaced. The plumbing thing.
So this human connection will never go away.
No, I think that will never go away. I think the thing with the plumbing thing and is you know, there's things like that where it's not going to go away. You're going to still need to have somebody in there, because it's actually going to be very hard to go around a house and do these things. But eventually, even that can be replaced. But the reason why these things, plumbing and nannies and things like that, are going to take longer to actually get replaced. There's a perfect example of this. So I can't remember who it was, but I saw this recently, and they were saying that everything's going to be replaced. But he's a perfect example. They asked him, you know, what's the last thing? And he said, it's going to be archaeology. And the person goes, why is that? You know, I can see loads of reasons, you know, why archaeology things, you know, ground searching, all of this, etc., etc. You know, there's all these things, data, loads of data. And he said, yes, but no one's going to pay for that. No one, you know, there's no money in archaeology. There's no money. There's no margin on doing these things, and therefore, which company is going to create that technology?
So basically, it's not solving a problem.
It's solving a problem, but it's not solving a problem that people will pay for because they don't have the money. Auditing, for example, if PwC tomorrow had an AI that would replace their auditing team to 90%, they get rid of 90% of their team within the thing. That's saving them, you know, probably billions, right? You know, in salaries alone. And then you think of it, okay, that software is worth a fortune. So someone's going to develop that. Now, you develop a software for archaeology. It, to be honest, could tell us a load of things about humanity, amazing stuff.
That's right.
Take the science, the sort of research to the next level. But there isn't the money in that institution to do it. Whereas, you know, Formula One driving, actually, the technology will probably be there, but I don't think anyone's going to want to watch a computer race around the thing. That sounds incredibly boring to me, right? It's not a sport at that point.
Exactly right. It's just
so actually, I don't think that would. The heart surgeon, on the other hand, they'll do, because it saves lives, and saving lives is obviously worth a fortune. So.
That's a very good point. So talking about change in the workplace, we know in the years to come, by 2020, next year, 60% of the generation are going to be mostly millennials. And I'm very keen to know how the millennials and the Gen Z sees my generation, the Gen Xers. How do we come across? Because if you look at the shift, you know, by 2020, officially, the baby boomers will be
retired
in their 70s.
Right
now. You know, the younger one are in the 70s. There's some others follows next 2 years. So meaning my generation been around for longer, 40s, you know, those in the daddies, etc., a lot of life experience. But how does that work in a company status? Because you're from millennials, you run this company. How do you then interact between the millennials, the Gen Xers, and the boomers?
Okay, well, our company is really good. I mean, with the boomers, not so much, but so myself and my co-founder, we're both millennials. We're at the sort of tail end of millennials, but we are still within that millennial sort of age group. The team that we have working with us are Gen Z, so they're at that end, and then our investors on our board, they're all
Gen Xers.
Gen Xers, exactly.
Right.
So we actually have a real cross
So
section.
you've got Gen Xers here.
Yeah.
You got the millennials in the middle.
Yeah.
And the Gen Z are just joining now to run
and
the show.
they're coming in, and they're very, they're the new things.
So that's 3 different mindsets
It
already.
is. And something you touched on, which is really good, is the commercial side of things. I think there is a different mindset around the way to look at businesses.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, with the Gen Z, and I think that's good. And actually that kind of experience really adds a lot of value to the millennials who maybe don't have that. They're a little bit... I don't know. We're all looking around. How can we build this company? How can we do really fast, exciting things? But we maybe not looking at how can we actually organise that? How can we make that work effectively and things like that? So I think there's that kind of mentality that we can gain a lot of experience from the Gen Xers. I think there's also a thing with Gen X where there's still that need for structure and control and everything like that, which for most millennials I see that as not something we'd think about. I think the millennials want to really move fast.
Yeah, and I think the point for that is my generation, the Gen Xers, we have inherited that from the boomers. But the boomers were kind of the driven fathers of work hard, you're going to get there, son. You put the hours, you're going to get there. And then they all started working from 8 to 8 at night. And they realized, hold on a minute, we're not getting nowhere, right? and then your generation came in, the millennial, and then we start having remote working.
Yeah.
And that's changing.
Well,
and when we now, looking at you guys, think, oh, we like that. I'd like to be home once a week with my family and working from my computer in the lounge.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing brought a change in the workplace.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a lot more of that as the boomers slowly phased out, and there'll be new genes, new structure, and new mindset into the business world.
I think that's true. I mean, personally, I actually don't like remote working. I mean, I'll do it every so often, just basically so I get peace and quiet and I just can, work for a project and get a load of things done. But most of the time, I actually prefer to be in the office, to be with people.
Correct.
And to have that sort of communication going on with everyone around us. I think that I actually really enjoy that. And I think that actually remote working is one thing that it needs to be there, because people, they have things in their real lives that, away from work, that need that, and they need to be at home, and they need that kind of flexibility. But I actually think that, the idea of getting rid of offices to me is ridiculous, because you need to have that communication with people. It's very hard. For example, if I'm away for a day like I am today out of the office, I'm going to be on my phone, listening to voice notes or having phone calls and things. I was like, but if I was in the office, all of that would be solved in 30 seconds. Nothing like that. None of these conversations will take as long. That's the real problem with remote working. It is actually taking away. But going back to the original question about Gen Xers and millennials and things like that, the thing that I think is slightly different, again, because looking at my board, so the 2 of our investors, they've both built really exciting companies, really fast growing. One of them's building, he has a big sort of engineering and water company, and the other one has a really fast growing marketing company, so in the same industry. And the difference, I think, can be seen between his marketing company and ours. Now, we're working with small businesses, we're working with lots of startups, and we're very, very fast paced in everything they do. What they do is they have this real great process, really great sort of technical ability to add value to big companies and things like that. Now, we wouldn't be able to do that. We don't have the team, and personally, I don't think I'd enjoy that. I don't think I'd find it as interesting. It is really good, and it's an amazing way of doing marketing and adds massive value to things, but it isn't that interesting. And I think that difference between Zap Urban and his company Chef Marketing, the difference between those things is probably the real difference there. Now, he employs a load of millennials and all of that in his team, so I think that they add into it.
Great,
but I think that's maybe the Gen Z's coming in for us. So they're a really energetic company, but what they sell, their key services are around this really complicated technical product that they can really get these sort of technical results and everything like that and build these amazing things for large companies. If we were a client said to us, we only want to work with you, but you need to do this, I'd say, yeah, I can understand this stuff and I could do it, but I don't think I'd enjoy it. And I think that's the difference here is we want to do, I think our generation can be put down to that, the Facebook, I don't know if it's their slogan or motto, but, move fast and break things.
Okay.
I think that's all I'm thinking about. How can we move very, very fast, grow very quickly? We started 9 months ago, we have 80 plus clients, 85 clients, I think, at the moment. We're moving very, very fast, onboarding, growing things like that, and that's what I want. I don't really think about what could go wrong at those points. It's just how do we move fast?
Okay.
And that's I think a difference here.
That sounds very amazing. And let's wrap up on that note. Xavier, how can people find you and see more what you're doing in the world?
Sure. So ZapHub, ZAPHUB. Very simple once that's out there. .co.uk, that's fine. LinkedIn, Xavier Parkhouse-Parker. I'm the only person with that name. Yeah, that's how you can find out more about us. Always happy to speak, talk about technology, AI, recruitment, HR things. Love that still. And of course, marketing and ZapHub and all of these great things like that.
Thank you, Xavier. Thanks for your time here
today.
Great
stuff, Samuel.
Take care. Cheers.
Thanks very much. Great.
I think we have.
I really hope